Okay, good morning. I think last time we started discussing languages and language diversity. We have not completed discussing this article. Today we continue discussing this on page 134. Open your books, 134. I think we stopped at line 36, starting with the Indo-European. Who would like to read this paragraph? Anfal?
The Indo-European language family contains 55 languages, including English, German, Spanish, Russian, and Hindi, are also Indo-European languages. Another language family is Sino-Tibetan, which includes Chinese, Burmese, and Tibetan. The Afro-Asiatic family includes Arabic, Hebrew, and Amharic. There are about 150 American Indian languages spoken today. These languages have many differences among them and have been divided into more than 50 language families.
Thank you. Then here we are talking about what we call language families. These language families, they are like us. We have families, and these languages also have what? Have families. Last time, I think we talked about Austronesian family. It has about 500 languages. Like, for example, Filipino, Malay, and Maori. Also, sometimes we have only one language, one family. This family is what? One language. It doesn't have what we call daughters or sons. Like, for example, the Basque. The Basque is what? Is one language, and it is what? Family language. Only one member of its language family. The next family is called the Indo-European language family. This is the second family called the Indo-European language family. It has 55 languages. Then it consists of what? 55 languages. Some of these languages are English, German, Spanish, Russian, and Hindi. Then this family is called Indo-European family. It consists of 55 languages, some of which are English, German, Spanish, Russian, and Hindi. These are members of the Indo-European language. Another language family, the third language family, is called Sino-Tibetan. Sino-Tibetan. And this includes, or this has, Chinese, Burmese, and Tibetan. Okay. Then this family, it's called Sino-Tibetan. It has what? 3 languages, which are Chinese, Burmese, and Tibetan. Another family is called the Afro-Asiatic family. And this is what? We talk about Austronesia, number 1. Number 2, Indo-European language. Number 3, Sino-Tibetan. This is number 4. It is Afro-Asiatic. Afro-Asiatic language or family. Language family. And what are these languages that belong to this family? في عنا للأفرو-Asiatic family لهم في عنا Arabic, Hebrew, and Amharic. إذن في عنا 3 languages in this family: Arabic, Hebrew, and Amharic. There are about 150 American Indian languages spoken today. يعني في عنا 150 American Indian languages spoken today. These languages have many differences among them. Then there are differences among what? These languages. And they are divided into more than 50 language families. Then we have many differences between these languages, and these languages are divided into more than 50 language families. Then we have more than 50 language families. Okay. Next paragraph. Yes.
أقرأ دكتور.
Yes.
Today, 50% of the world's population speaks one of the top 15 languages. The world's most common language is Mandarin Chinese, which has more than 1 billion speakers. English is the international language for science and business. In fact, English has more second language speakers than first language speakers.
Thank you. Thank you. Even today, we have 50 of the world's population speaks one of the top 15 languages. Then half of the world's population speak one of the top 15 languages. If you have top 15 languages in the world. The world's most common language, the most popular language, is Mandarin Chinese. Why is it common? Because more than 1 billion speaks it. Because more than 1 billion people speak it. So it is what? It is the world's most common language. How do you know that a language is the most common language? By looking at the speakers of the language. Mandarin Chinese, this is Chinese language. More than 1 billion speakers. Because it has what? Many speakers, so we can consider it as what? The world's most common language. English is the international language. We know that English is an international language for science and business. For science and business. In fact, English has more second language speakers than first language speakers. يعني more people who speak language as second language, not as the first language. في more speakers of English as a second language than native speakers of English language. People who speak English as a second language are more than the people who speak English as their first language. Okay. Next paragraph. Next.
أكمل دكتور.
Yes.
People learn language by listening, reading, and using the language. Most children learn their first language easily, and sometimes other language as well. Adults often must work harder at learning a second language.
Thank you. Then how do you people learn the language? How do you learn a language? By listening, reading, and speaking. When you learn English, for example, first you listen to the language, then after that you can speak it and then write and read it. إذا في عنا skills, language skills. لو listening, we're reading, we're speaking, we're writing. So when you learn second language, you start with what? You listen to the language. Then you can speak the language and read the language and write in the language. And most children learn their first language easily. As speaker of Arabic, when you are a child or when you were a child, you spoke the language very easily. easily than any other language. So you speak or you learn your first language more easily than any other language because it is your what? It is your native language. But when you learn a second language, it is what? It is harder or much harder than learning what? A first language. Then learning a first language is easier as native speaker of that language, easier than learning a second language which is not your language. Okay, so when you learn your language, you learn it very easily and quickly. But when you learn another language as a second language or foreign language, you have to work harder in order what? To learn this language. Why? Because it is different from your own language. It's different from your native language. It has different structure. It has different word order. It has different vocabulary and so on. So you find difficulties in learning a second or a foreign language. Why? Because it's not similar to your language. It is different from your language. So you have to work harder in order to learn this new language or second language. Next paragraph. Amara?
Recent research indicates that a child's brain actually learns a new language differently than an adult's brain does. In one study, scientists used a special machine to look at the brains of bilingual adults. Some of the adults learned the second language when they were children, and some learned the second language as adults. The study showed that children use the same parts of their brain to learn both their first language and the second language. Adults, on the other hand, used a different area of their brain to process their second language.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Even recent research or recent studies indicate that a child's brain actually learns a new language differently than an adult brain does. Yani, when a child learns a new language, this learning of language is different from adults who learn this language. Why? لأن البرين عندنا your brain learns a new or functions in a different way when learning a language as a child or when you learn another language as an adult. ليش؟ لأن البرين هنا functions differently as a child learning a language and as an adult learning a language. طبعا we mean by adult له ايش؟ younger people, young people, okay, not a child, the opposite of child. In one study, on these studies of research, scientists use a special machine to look at the brains of bilingual adults in order to what? To show how the child's brain learns a language differently from adult's brain. In this study, scientists used a special machine. Why? To look at the brains of bilingual adults. What do you mean by bilingual? What do you mean by bilingual?
Speak two languages.
Yes, speaking two languages. Speaking two languages. Now, what are the results of this experiment? They found out that some of the adults learned the second language when they were children, and some learned the second language as adults. Learning a second language as a child is different from learning a second language as an adult. Then, what did this experiment or study find out? it found out that some of the adults learned the second language when they were children. And those adults learned the second language when they were children. And some learn the second language when they are adults. And there are differences between these two what? These two groups of people. Now, what did the study show? The study showed that children use the same part of their brain to learn both their first language and second language. Then what were the results of the study? No. Children use the same part of their brain to learn their first language and second language. Okay? Even children use the same part of their brain to learn both first and second language. Adults, on the other hand, in different way, use a different area of their brain to process the second language. Then, if you are an adult, you are 20 or you are 18 or you are 17 or 16 years old, you are an Arabic speaker of the language, so you learn your Arabic very quickly and easily. So, when you learn the second language with an English, when you learn English, as a child, بالرغم انك is not is a native speaker of English, you speak the language easy as your first language. ليش؟ لأن البرين هنا طبعا أنا parts of the brain you use when you learn your first language and you use your second language when you are a child. هنا part of brain use the same part of brain to learn both languages. But when you are adult and you want to learn the second language, you use different area of the brain to process the second language. إذا بالحالة هي بيكون learning a second language as an adult is different from learning a second language as a child. ليش؟ لأنه if you learn a language when you are a child, you use the same part of the brain to learn the first and second language. But when you are an adult and you want to learn a second language, you use a different part of the brain to learn the second language. This is why it is different to learn the language when you are an adult. Okay? Next paragraph. Asma.
Languages have come and gone in the past, but they are now disappearing at a rapid rate. Experts estimate that on average, the world loses a language every 2 weeks. Some linguists believe that half of the world's language could be disappear in the next 100 years if we don't do anything. That would be roughly 3,000 languages lost forever. Should we let that happen?
Okay, thank you. طبعا languages have come and gone in the past. يعني فينا languages بتكون مثلا it was in the past and some people are still using it. في عنا languages طبعا no people spoke it, so it disappeared or died out. هنا but they are now disappearing at a rapid rate, يعني at a fast rate. These languages or some of these languages are disappearing, يعني are dying out. Experts estimate, لو calculate, that on average the world loses a language every 2 weeks. بالaverage, when the world loses a language every 2 weeks, and every 2 weeks the world loses 2 languages. And these 2 languages disappear. Some linguists, what do you mean by linguists? Linguists means people who study languages. Some linguists believe that half of the world's languages, half, and 50% of the world's languages could disappear يعني die out in the next 100 years if we don't do anything. Then linguists say that half of the world's languages could be lost in the next 100 years if we don't do anything. That means 3,000 languages lost forever. Yani we may lose 3,000 languages forever. Yani they won't appear, they disappear, they die out. طبعا هنا في عندنا question. Should we let that happen? Should we let, for example, should we let that these languages حكينا عنهم disappear if you don't do anything? And honest linguists say that we should do something to prevent the disappearance of these what? Of these languages. لو قلنا عنهم 3,000 languages. Okay. Then in this article, we talk about what? What do we talk in this article about?
We talk about language.
And the diversity of languages.
Yes, we talk about languages and diversity of languages. And we say that languages are changing. كيف كنا عنهم قلنا المرة الماضية changing by ايش؟ في عندنا inventing new words زي ما قلنا مثلا bite was invented. في عندنا second way في borrowing words from other languages زي ما قلنا مثلا tomato was borrowed from American Indian language. والثird way في عندنا ايش؟ as what? Change the meaning of the words. زي meat كانت ايش؟ means food but now it has a specific meaning. وحكينا برضو عنها قلنا في عنا language families في عنا about 4 I think or 5 language families. What are these families? What are these families? Yes. An Austronesian family. Also, we said Indo-European family. Also, we say Sino-Tibetan family. The last family قلنا عنها ايش؟ Afro-Asiatic family. إذن في عنا 4 language families in the world. 4 language families. Austronesian, Indo-European, Sino-Tibetan, and Afro-Asiatic languages. قلنا كمان إنه we talk about that. إنه people learn the language, their second language different from their first language. When children learn the language, or when they learn a second language, they are different from adults who learn a second language. Children use the same part of the brain when learning first or second language. بينما adults use a different area of the brain to learn the second language. قلنا في عنا برضو languages that are lost and languages that are going to disappear. قلنا عنا في 3,000 languages lost forever. Okay. I have a question about this article. You have any question? Now let's do the vocabulary part of this article. Now let's look at these words here. في systems. What part of a speech is system?
Noun.
Noun, okay. What do you mean by systems?
نظام.
Yes, systems. Not system. Systems, plural here.
أنظمة.
Yes. Borrow? What part of a speech is borrow? Verb.
Verb.
What do you mean by
يستعير.
borrow? What do you mean by borrow?
يستعير.
يقترب.
Yes, and to take something from another language. or مثلا to take money, to borrow money from other people. Past,
ماضي.
what part of speech is past here?
name noun.
Noun, yes. Talks about something what in the past. Characters
noun.
is a noun. What do you mean by characters?
شخصيات.
يعني هنا we mean by characters إنه زي إيش؟ alphabets. Okay, alphabets of the language.
Yeah.
What specializes here? What part of speech?
verb.
Verb. Yes. What do you mean by specializes?
يتخصص.
Yes, يعني to focus on what subject, or to study one subject what intensively. Rate, what part of speech is it?
noun.
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 What do you mean by rate?
معدل.
Yes. Average. Form.
noun.
Form طبعا بتيجي هنا بتيجي noun و verb حسب وجودها بالجملة. What do you mean by form?
شكل.
Yes. Refer to.
verb أكيد.
Verb. What do you mean by refer to?
يعود إلى.
Yes, يعني belong to. Estimate.
تقدير. noun.
Estimate طبعا verb وايش؟ noun وverb. هنا مثلا last paragraph experts estimate. What is estimate here? What part of speech? Verb. Estimate means gonna calculate.
make judge.
Yes. Meaningful.
adjective.
Adjective. What does it mean?
ذات قيمة أو معنى.
Has meaning. Has meaning. Yes. Divided.
verb.
Verb.
يتقسم يقسم.
Yes. Divided يعني split or separate. Yes. Linguists.
noun. خبراء. خبراء لغة.
Yes. Then people who study the language. Okay. Now let's fill in the blanks with appropriate word from the list here. Number 1. أسماء.
There are many different writing systems. The English language uses the Roman alphabets. Systems.
There are many different writing systems. Going to system is what here?
نظام. noun.
Noun, yes. Writing systems. Next. Amara.
A dermatologist is a doctor who specializes in problems of the skin.
Yeah, dermatologist is a doctor who specializes. أنا هنا في عنا we use إيش يا verb who specializes in problems of the skin. Next. أنفال.
The United States is divided into 50 states.
The United States is divided into 50 states. Next. Asma.
In the past 50 years, the population of the world has increased rapidly. The past.
Even in the past 50 years, the population of the world has increased rapidly. Next. Isra.
In the past 50 years, the population of the world had increased rapidly.
We did that.
إحنا 5.
تمام. Can I borrow your pen for just a minute? هون حط الدكتور verb.
Yes, can I
اللي هو
borrow?
borrow.
Yes, أنا من a question هنا. Can I borrow your pen? Yes, next. Amna.
It's much easier to form wet snow into balls than to use dry snow.
It is much easier to form. What form here? What part of speech here? After to, what do you use?
Verb.
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 Yes, then it is much easier to form with snow into balls than to use dry snow. Next. Next. Asma.
In some countries, students refer to their professor by their first names.
In some countries, students refer to. We use the verb. Can a student and a subject? Subject is followed by a verb. Some students refer to their professor. Next. Anfal.
Noam Chomsky, a professor at MIT, is one of the most famous linguists in the world.
Yes, famous linguists in the world. Next. Isra.
Noam Chomsky, a professor at MIT, is one of the most famous, meaningful in the world.
Meaningful. شو عندنا famous صار يا إسراء؟ What's
All
famous? What part of a speech is it famous?
Famous adjective.
Adjective. Then what should it be followed by what?
لازم يكون بعدها noun.
طبعا is meaningful now.
لا meaningful هون صارت adjective.
We don't use two adjectives. So we can say the most famous.
شو النون طب دكتور من meaningful؟
Is meaningful the right word here? Is meaningful the right word? شو قلنا عن most famous what?
Language.
Language?
Linguist.
Linguist, which language?
Linguist, yes. Oh.
Linguist, yes. Is one of the most famous linguists in the world. Next. Amara?
A team of workers can build a car at a faster rate than people working alone.
A team of workers can build a car at a faster rate. What is faster here? What part of speech?
Adjective.
Adjective. Rate?
Noun.
Noun. Yes. Next. Asma?
The word diversity has 9 characters. صح.
The word diversity has 9 characters. Characters. Yes. Okay. Exercise B vocabulary. طبعا ريت عرفناها ريت ودون باي ريت. We know that rate. Brain ودون باي brain.
شو السؤال؟
brain دماغ.
What's brain here?
brain هون noun.
Noun, yes. Then what's the meaning of brain here?
دماغ.
Yes. Past طبعا مرت معنا past. Estimate.
تقدير.
Yes. طبعا it can verb or noun, yes. Specialist.
مختص هون noun صح؟
Noun, yes. System.
نظام noun.
Noun. Meaningful.
ذات معنى أو ذات فائدة adjective.
Adjective. Reference.
مرجع noun.
Noun, yes. Characters.
noun شخصيات.
Noun. Bilingual.
noun.
Bilingual.
noun أكثر من لغة. adjective.
Adjective, yes.
adjective.
Divide.
verb.
Verb. Linguistics.
verb. noun.
نعم. في عنا linguists وفي عنا linguistics. شو الدفرنس بيناتهم؟
linguist دكتور يعني بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يعني لغوي.
لغوي يس.
linguist علم لغة.
مظبوط. linguistics يس. في عنا linguist و linguistics. linguist طبعا هو البيرسون بكون specialized باللانجوجز. بينما linguistics له science of language. linguistics. Yes. Number 1. Amna?
The best way to become bilingual is to live in a foreign country.
then the best way to become bilingual. Bilingual is going to be adjective. Is to live in a foreign country. Next. Asma?
His friend began to worry about him when he said that there was no longer anything meaningful in his life. Meaningful.
Yes, and his friend began to worry about him when he said that there was no longer anything meaningful. Meaningful, an adjective here, which has meaning in his life. Next. Anfal?
If you want to study how people learn languages, you should take a linguistics course.
Even if you want to study how people learn languages, you should take a linguistics course. It's linguistics. On course in linguistics. No, science of language. Next. Amara?
Motorcyclists wear helmets to prevent brain injury in an accident.
Even motorcyclists wear helmets to prevent brain injury. Brain injury, yes, in the accident. Next. Isma?
But I don't know that exact population of my city, but I estimate that there are about 2 million of people. Estimates.
Estimate. Then I don't know the exact population of my city, but I estimate. What part of
verb,
the estimate here?
Verb.
Verb.
مقدر.
Yes, estimate that there are about 2 million people. Next. Next. Sarah?
My dentist said that I need to go to a specialist. دكتور بتنقرأ ولا كيف؟
Yes. Specialist, yes.
Specialist to get my teeth fixed.
Then my dentist said that I need to go to a specialist. Specialist, I'm gonna is a person who is specialized something to get my tooth fixed. Next. Next. Asma?
During the president speech, she made reference to an important new medical study. Reference noun.
Noun, yes. Then, during the president's speech, she made reference to an important new medical study. Next. Next. Amara?
The computer system for the whole office was down for 2 days.
The computer system. My computer noun, system noun. We have two nouns here. Computer system for the whole office was down for 2 days. Next. Anfal?
When you exercise, your heart rate goes up.
Then when you exercise, your heart rate. Noun. Heart rate. Two nouns here. Next. Isra?
We had such large class that instructor had to divide it up into 3 groups. هون divide دكتور حطيت.
Yes, divide, yes. Had to, on a verb here, to divide, yes. Okay. وهاي الكلمات بتحفظوها وتعرفوا معانيها. اوكي. Exercise vocabulary review antonyms. What do you mean by antonyms?
متضادات.
Yes, the words that
Opposites.
have ايش؟
The word
The
opposite.
opposite meaning. The opposite meaning. Match the words that mean the opposite. Number one. أسماء. Harmless.
بقابلها دكتور fear.
Harmless. What do you mean by harmless?
harmless غير مؤذي.
Yes.
فبقابلها
The
كلمة
opposite.
fear يعني بمعنى
Hazardous.
خوف.
I. Hazardous.
Hazardous. Hazardous. إذا harmless يعني no harm, without harm. Hazardous شو معنى نقول عندها hazardous؟ مرت معنا
Dangerous.
ذكروها dangerous. يعني dangerous معناته ايش؟ harmful. harmful. إذا في عندنا harmless و harmful. طبعا ما فيش عندنا harmful، في عندنا hazardous. hazardous means dangerous. و dangerous شو بكون harmful. Okay. Next.
الجواب G الأولى.
Yes. J, not G. J. أنفال.
Instructor, student.
تعرف instructor شو يعني instructor؟
مرشد, like a teacher.
Teacher. Yes, teacher. الأوبوزيت تبعها إيش؟ Student. Next. أسماء.
Once on white عكسها D often.
Often. What do you mean by once in a while?
يعني في إحدى الأحيان, في مرة يعني.
Yes, once in a while. Okay. طبعا often is the opposite. يعني often
غالباً.
يعني most of the time. Often. Most of the time. آمنة.
Left, drop,
What do you mean by lift here?
يرفع للأعلى.
Yes, lift.
يترك.
The opposite, drop.
Drop,
Yes. Next. Next. Amara.
Maybe with the C, certainly.
What do you mean by maybe?
ربما.
Yes, perhaps or probably, yes. طبعا الأوبوزيت اللي هي إيش؟ الأنتم تبعها certainly.
Certainly.
Yes. Next. إسراء.
دكتور في يعني بمعنى فزع. تمام. الأوبوزيت اللي بقابلها جي اللي هي calm هادئ.
terrify يعني terrify.
فزع.
terrify.
وبقابلها calm هادئ.
Yes, calm. Calm. Yes, next. آمنة.
empty, full,
Empty. Full.
empty, full.
Next. أسماء.
Positive عكسها negative.
Negative.
دكتور
Yes.
بقدر أطلع من المحاضرة لأنه عندي على 12 امتحان.
أسماء.
دكتور.
أوكي. أوكي.
دكتور.
شكرا.
دكتور أنا أرى علي امتحان المد. تمام. بس بدي أسأل متى موعد الامتحان.
ليش راح عليك؟
دكتور صراحة أنا كنت يعني مفكر الامتحان ب8
هذا خطأك. ما فيش
أنا أقول لك دكتور.
تقول ليش مفكر؟ لا تقول لي مفكر.
دكتور
لازم تعرف.
بسأل الطلاب على جروب.
شو بدك بالطلاب؟ ما نزل الجدول عندك. شو بدك الطلاب؟ طلاب ما لهمش علاقة فيك. أنت تحمل مسؤولية عدم اهتمامك. الجدول نزل، وقت الامتحان نزل، وساعة الامتحان نزلت. تقولش الطلاب مطوا، شو علاقتك بالطلاب؟ انت لازم تكون تعرف لحالك. الامتحان راح عليك تاخذ 0 فيه. اوكي؟
يعني
ثاني مرة تنتبه. مش وصلك الموعد؟
ما
ها؟
وصلني، انا كنت
إيه
فكر
ما
8
وصل.
8 دكتور.
ايش؟
فكر 8 8 دكتور.
شو 8
الامتحان موعد اليوم.
بتفكر انت، بس هو مش
مش
بتفكر.
بفكر انا هيك ميقن.
ايش؟
انا هيك يعني
شو
خلص
هيك يعني
دكتور
ايش؟
براحتك.
ايش؟
مش بقدر اقول لك، اذا بتقدر تعيد لي إياه بكون
لا
ممنون.
ما فيش اعاده، لانك انت خطأك انت. عندك امتحان بكون عارف امتحان ايميت. عرفت؟ هذا استهتار
ان شاء
يعتبر.
الله
استهتار. اوكي؟ فالمستهتر باخذ 0.
براحتك دكتور.
لا لانه هذا خطأك انت. لو موجود عندك على شو اسمه على موقع الجامعه، موجود عندك ودوا لك ايميل، لازم تكون تعرف. اما تقول والله سالت الطلاب ما لنا علاقه بالطلاب، نقول الطلاب يضللون. ثاني مره مش
بقولوها
هتنتبه.
جنة ما لا يسود دكتور.
لا مش جلسه، لا هذا كيرلسنس. اوكي؟ كيرلسنس، استهتار بالماده كلها مش بس بالامتحان. اوكي؟ وراح تلاقي هاي نتائجه. اوكي
براحتك دكتور، يعطيك العافيه.
اوكي. اكسرسايز دي، طبعا اللي عنده امتحان هو مسؤول عن الامتحان، يقولش ما عرفتش والله ما بفكره بكره بفكره اليوم. هذا خطأك انت، تتحمل مسؤوليته انت وبتاخذ 0 فيه. ثاني مره عندك امتحان بتكون مهتم وبتعرف اهميه الوقت واهميه الساعه.
ان شاء الله دكتور.
اما تقول والله قلت لفلان وقال للطلاب قالوا لي كذا، هذا ماليش علاقه فيه. انت مسؤول عن امتحانك، تعرف من امتحانك اي ساعه واي وقت وتدخل عليه. اذا كنت مستهتر خلاص راحت عليك، تاخذ 0 انتهى. اوكي
يعطيك العافيه دكتور.
لا عافيك. اكسرسايز دي، true or false or not enough information. طبعا هنا في عندنا statements. statement ممكن تكون true، ممكن تكون false، او we don't have enough information. Number 1. آمنة؟
We don't know the number of languages used today. True.
Yes. We don't know the exact number. أنا مش بحكي exact number of languages used today. It's true. Next. إسراء.
Word order is the same in all languages. False.
False. طبعا is this mentioned in the article? No. And does the article say that the word order is not the same or is the same in all languages?
No, doctor.
ما فيش عنا مكتوب word order is more important. بس it doesn't say that it's the same. Then what can we say about this? Is it true, false, or not enough information? Huh? What can we say?
False.
لا ما فيش عنا false.
Not
Does the
enough
article
information.
say the word order is not the same in all languages? شو الارتكل قالت انه word order is more important in English than it is in some other languages.
بس إنه مش the same دكتور، يعني إنه
not the
مش
same,
نفس
yes, not the same.
الكلمة بجميع اللغات.
Yes, not the same. Okay. Next. آمنة?
There is more than one kind of sign language. True.
There is more than one kind of sign language. True, yes. Next. Sarah?
Many hearing impaired people use a sign language. True.
True, yes. Next. Next. آمنة.
Many food words in English come from other language. True.
many food words in English. هل موجود عندنا هذا بالارتكل انه many food words in English come from other languages؟ Does the article say that?
No. لكن دكتور نقدر نحكي إنه يعني هي يعني حقيقة يعني إحنا بنعرفه.
لا
يعني
احنا حسب الارتكل مش حسب تعرفين انت.
Yes. تمام.
إذا does the paragraph or does the article say that many food words in English come from other languages? Does the article say that? Does the article say that? طيب if we look at paragraph لو الباراجراف فيها line 19. Languages are always changing, but they change very slowly. People invent new words for their language, borrow words from other languages, and change the meaning of words as needed. For example, the English word bite was invented by computer specialists in 1959. The English word tomato was borrowed from American Indian language. Does this mean that many food words in English come from other languages? Does it mean that, or does it tell us that? Then what can we say about this sentence? Is it true? Is it true? What do you think? Is it true?
No, doctor.
No.
False.
Is it false? Is it false?
Yes. أو لا, not enough information.
Not false. شو بنقدر نقول لها؟
Not enough information.
Not enough information. يعني فيش عندنا enough information بالنسبة للجملة هاي. إنه يعني بالإساءة فيش عندنا إنه it says مثلا many food words in English come from other languages. إذن we don't have enough information. إذن not enough information. Next. Next. Isra?
A language family can be small or large. True.
Yes. Language family can be small or large. True. Next. طبعا بيشاركوا راح يحطوا المعلومات كامله بالمشاركه، واللي ما بيشاركوش راح يعطوا صفر. فاللي بالصف الموجودين بالمحاضره مش بيشاركوش راح يفقدوا 10 علامات. فقلت لكم من اول فصل بيشارك باخذ 10 علامات، ما بيشارك ما باخذ. اوكي. نيكست. آمنة؟
There is nothing we can do to prevent the loss of health. The words languages. It's false.
What's true طيب؟ What's true? أنفال?
Not enough information.
Yes, not enough information, yes. Next. إسراء.
تمام دكتور. More people speak Chinese than any other language. True.
More people speak Chinese than any other language.
True جوابها.
Yes.
لأنه أصلا الدكتور حكينا بالفقرة إنه اللي بيحكوا اللغة الصينية أكثر من اللي بيحكوا اللغة الإنجليزية.
Yes, then it's true. Yes. Next. أنفال.
50% of the world's population speaks Chinese. False. 50% of the world's population speaks one of the top languages.
مش Chinese. Yes.
مش Chinese.
Yes. Okay, false. Next. Next. Sarah?
Adults and children use different parts of their brain to learn a second language. True.
Adults and children use different parts of their brain to learn a second language. أنا أقول children إيش use what? When the children use the same part of the brain.
children بيستخدموا نفس البرين كامل عشان يتعلموا لغة جديدة. مش زي الأدلت. الأدلت بيستخدموا أجزاء مختلفة من الدماغ.
Yes.
صح دكتور؟
Yes. نقول adults and children use different. فنقصد إنه children use the same part of the brain. بينما adults use إيش؟ different part of the brain. On adults and children use different parts of the brain. وهذا إيش؟ Is it true? True or false sign? أنفال؟
It's true.
Is it true؟ احنا قلنا adults and children use different parts of their brain. احنا شو قلنا use different parts of the brain؟ children ولا adults؟
Adults.
Adults. إذا معناته هنا لما نقول adults and children use different. احنا قلنا children ايش use ايش؟ the same part of the brain. بينما adults use ايش؟ different part of the brain. هون جمعت الجملة adults and children use different parts of the brain. Who use different parts of the brain? Adults, not children. Then we can say it's false. Why false? Because only adults use different part of their brain to learn a second language. Okay. Now, comprehension questions. What is a language? What is a language? Amna?
A language is a system of seconds and letters used to communicate ideas and feelings.
A language is a system of what? Sounds, gestures, or characters used to communicate ideas and feelings. Then language is a system of sounds, gestures, or characters used to communicate ideas and feelings. What is a sign language? What is a sign language? Anfal?
It's a language in which gestures do the work of the sound system of spoken languages.
Yes, either a sign language is what? Is a language in which gestures do the work of the sound system of spoken language. Yeah, instead of using sounds, we use gestures in speaking. In English, the basic order, word order of words. Now in English, subject, verb, complement, or object. What is the basic order of words in your first language? What is the word order in your language? Or in Arabic?
Sometimes the subject can come before the verb and other times the subject can come after it.
Yes, we have two types of word order. قلنا سميناهم بالأول قلنا verbal order يعني we start the sentence with the verb, and the second type is what قلنا nominal. Nominal يعني we start the sentence with ايش؟ with a noun. Okay. يعني في عندنا two word orders. Verbal order, nominal order. Verbal, we start the sentence with verb, and nominal, we start the sentence with noun. Okay. What's an example of a borrowed word? What is an example of a borrowed word? Isra?
Tomato.
Tomato, yes. Tomato. What's an example of an invented word? Invented word. Anfal?
Bite.
Yes, bite. What is one difference between the Austronesian language family and the Indo-European language family? What is one difference? Yes. Sarah?
The Estronine family has 50 language, while the Indo-European has 55 families.
Then the Austronesian family has 500 languages. 500 languages. While Indo-European has what? 55 languages. You know, 500 languages. Well, Indo-European has 55 languages. But why is it useful to group languages into families? Why is it useful to group languages into families? Amna?
It's easier to group languages into families because language that come from the same family share common future, as they could be from the same mother language.
إذا نقدر نقول هنا it is useful to group languages into families. ليش؟ Because languages in each family are related, and they come from the same parent family because they are related. يعني they are similar what? In some aspects. Should we try to keep languages alive? Asra. Should we try to keep languages alive?
Doctor, yes, we should, because every language carries the culture and the history of the speakers of that.
Yes. Then yes, we should. Why? Because every language represents a culture and civilization of other people. Yes. Now, why is it more difficult for adults than children to learn second language? It's difficult for adults to learn second language than children. Why is it more difficult? Amne?
Because children and adults don't use the same part, the brain to learn another language.
نسأل سؤال. Why is it more difficult for adults than children? For adults. احنا قلنا children ايش؟ use ايش؟ What?
بيتعلموا أسرع.
No. How? They should use ايش؟
دكتور بيستعملوا كامل البرين تبعهم.
The same part. They use ايش؟ The same part of the brain.
Same part of the brain.
بينما الادلتس شو الادلتس؟ They use what?
Don't use.
What do they use?
Different parts.
Different parts, yes. Then why is it easy for children to learn a first language? Sorry, a second language? Because they use the same part of the brain. بينما الادلتس is difficult for adults to learn a second language. Why? Because they use a different part of the brain. This is ايش? Why is it more difficult for what? For adults. Any question about this article so far? Do you have any question? الأسايمنت اللي وديتكم إياها بعتها عندكم ولا راحت؟ ها؟
سلمناه دكتور زمان.
نعم؟
سلمناه دكتور خلص الوقت.
الأسبوع الماضي.
احنا بدناش نسلموها من نناقشها بس.
موجودة.
اوكي. هي موجودة على الموقع ولا راحت ولا بعدها؟
لا موجودة على الموقع.
موجودة؟ اوكي. عشان مرة ثانية ايش بس خلصوا انا نناقش. راح اوديكم كمان assignment ثانية غير هاي. اوكي. Okay. Do you have any question so far? If you don't, then we stop here today at this point and see you next time.